It just got 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, 17th of March, 2015. My name is Herman. Good morning to you once again. Welcome back to Candid Conversations with CIPC. We have a second installment of the show during the day, in the morning. So this is what, like, when you're busy with your brunch, breakfast for some of us, you now get the opportunity to engage with CIPC and also get to hear what's in store from the guys out there. It's no longer just with the commissioner. We've got a team present as well. And at that point, I'll welcome the commissioner again. Good morning, Commissioner Astrid Ludin, and welcome to the show. Great to have you again. Hi, Commissioner, can you hear me? Okay, we're trying to get the connection with Commissioner running.
Herman, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I apologize. It's sometimes I reveal my age when it comes to technology. I muted myself.
Totally understand. Good morning to you, Commissioner, once again.
Good morning, Herman. It's great to be back again for another show this week.
Awesome. Looking forward to your company once again. And in a little bit, I'll give you a chance to let us know who's joining us this morning. But let me say hello to some of the guys that are joining us viewing this chat this morning. Monique, Tseko, Elna, Cornelius, Lianka, Freddie, as well as Michelle, Leslie, Christoph, Sheila. Don't know if that's Christoph or Stacey, but nonetheless, Tanya, Tia, some of the guys that are joining us this morning. But can you now, Commissioner, tell me who is joining us this morning and what's in store for show number 7 for Candid Conversations?
Herman, this morning we have 2 presentations. The first one is from Busi Giane, and it is going to be about the query resolution system. We believe that what we'd like to do is take people through the process and be able to respond to any queries, because this is a very important part of interacting with CIPC. And so this is actually the first session like this that we're doing with members of the public. And we think, depending on the feedback, we'd like to do more of these. So the second session that we have, presentation that we have this morning, is from Advocate Krista Klokov. She is the team manager for annual returns, amongst other things. She also deals with business rescue notices and liquidations, deregistrations, and reinstatements. So I mentioned a few weeks ago that we just recently concluded a large number of deregistrations, and so we thought it would be appropriate for Krista to address people on annual returns, but I think more importantly, what is the process of deregistration and reinstatements, and also to share recent changes on reinstatements. So it presents also the opportunity, of course, to ask questions directly to her. And I think, if we find that there are a lot of questions, we can always schedule a follow-up session. Before we turn to the presentations, Herman, I'd like to just announce what processing dates we have on new company registrations and on name reservations. So our team is currently working on company registrations received on the 13th of March. So they are on a 2-day turnaround time right now. And if anybody's application was lodged before the 13th of March, electronic application, then I think you need to follow, and it hasn't been processed, you need a resolution system that Busi will take you through just now. On name reservations, we're working on the 4th of March. So I've been getting queries of applications received after the 4th of March and people getting anxious about their names not being approved. Please be patient. The team is still on an 8-day turnaround time. So that's really all I wanted to say by way of introduction. Herman, back to you and to Busi.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Before we start with Wusi, it's 5 minutes after 10, running on schedule. We've got the poll that's running. Largely, we're just trying to get the listeners' feedback on this point. Obviously, when we started Candid Conversations, it was at 7 p.m. in the evening on Tuesday evenings. And trying to improve the show, we decided, together with the team at CIPC, to do it at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. So the poll for today, we'll run it up until around about 5 before we close the show, just to get your feedback. When is, or what is the best time for us to have this online show, the CIPC Candid Conversations? We have three options. That's a poll for this morning. The first option is in the morning, second option late afternoon, and the third option is in the evening. So how do you contribute? Look on the sidebar of your screen. There's a sidebar. You have five tabs there: chat, polls, attendees, and plug-ins, or pop-ins rather. Just click on poll, and you'll see the poll question there with three options. Just click on the desired answer, and then click on vote, and we'll share feedback later on before we say goodbye. It's your chance to contribute to the show, and so that we can be able to give you the show at the I suppose an appropriate time. But also, should you happen to miss us during the show, there's going to be a podcast that you can check it out later on during the day. Plus, you can also download it as well once you have accessed it, so that you can listen to it whenever you want to. So let me welcome now Busi. Busi, good morning. There's a little button called the mute button. I cannot hear you, so if you can just move your mouse, you'll see a little toolbox at the top, and just click microphone, mute microphone, just click it there, and then I'll be able to hear you properly. I can see the fingers going there, moving the mouse, I see. There we go.
Morning, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Can you hear me, Amen?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Busi. You can hear me, yeah?
Hi, how are you, Amen?
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so we're going to hand over to you as we get the presentations ready. We're going to hand over to you. You're going to be doing a presentations on query resolutions. Don't forget, you can send through the questions on the chat area. Just type the questions, and then we'll field it at the end of Busi's presentation. You can also tweet us at SASB Connect, and also follow us on Facebook. Submit your comments and questions on SASB Connect as well. Busi, when you're ready, you can take over.
Hi. Can I start talking?
Yes, you can.
There's a system, query resolution system is the system that was implemented at CIPC.
Can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, just speak up, I can hear you. Hi, I can hear you. Carry on, yeah?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You may carry on.
Okay. Query resolution system is a system that was implemented at CIPC last year in September to help all the customers. Why?
So you can carry on.
Guys. Hello.
Hi, Busi, I can hear you. You can carry on.
Okay. Query resolution system is a system that was implemented at CIPC to help all the customers send all their queries or all their business challenges to CIPC via a single channel, so that we can respond in an efficient and effective way to all the customers. Can I move to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
It's on. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can I continue? Can I continue with my presentation? I mean.
Yes, you may continue.
Oh, gosh, sorry about that.
No worries. You can continue. It's fine. I can hear you.
So I was saying query resolution system is the system that is used by customers to send all their queries to CIPC. And then we using QRS, which is a query resolution system, as like a single channel for all the customers to send their queries. And then I'll move to just an overview of the system. So the customers go to the main website, CIPC website, and then at that homepage of CIPC website, they scroll down the page, they click on that inquiries link. We need their customer code details to log in. If they are active CIPC customers, they can log in to that system, and then they type their query. They need to specify if it's an assistant or the system error, and then they type the title of their query, and then they write everything they want. They can even attach in that system. You can attach any format of a document. As soon as they click on that submit button, they will receive a reference number.
Yep.
They'll receive a reference number, and then it takes up to 10 working days for CIPC to respond back to their query. Can I move to the next slide? Hello?
Yeah, sure. Carry on.
You can just carry on.
Oh, okay. As soon as they have the reference number, if they didn't receive any response within 10 working days, they can send their queries to the way we can resolve their query in time. I don't even know.
Yeah, Busi?
Hi, Amen.
Yeah, you can carry on. We can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Busi?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, you can just carry on. We can hear you. Just carry on with your presentation. It's all right.
Herman, we apologize. I think it's just about understanding this new format of presenting to people that you can't see. So, Lucy, you're doing well. Just continue.
Hello, how are you? I'll
Yeah,
move to
sure.
your next. I'll move to
Yeah,
your
okay.
next slide. What happens after you logged a query? Once you have submitted the query, you receive a ticket number to be used in all correspondence with CIPC relating to the query. The query will be assigned to a relevant technician, which is a CIPC official. You receive a response via email if you indicated that you would like to receive an email notification when the customer is sending a query to CIPC. You can log into the query resolution system at any time to view the status of your query. And then I'm moving to the next slide. What happens after your query has been submitted? Once your query has been submitted, the CIPC staff will respond back within 10 working days. CIPC has a 3-tier response process. First tier, it's 3 days to pick up and respond to the query. And the second tier, it's 2 days to provide feedback and comment on the query. And the last tier, which is the third tier, it's a 5 days meantime to resolve the query. If the customer has not received any satisfaction on your query, contact the CIPC commissioner at aludin@cipc.co.za. How to manage your queries. Sign into the query resolution systems and anytime to review responses and progress relating to your queries. When they log into that query resolution system, they can click on the button ticket and then they view their status of their ticket or of their query. actions you can initiate on your query. You close their ticket when they are satisfied with the resolution or the solution sent by the CIPC officials. If they closed their query, they don't have any choice to reopen the ticket. So you need to close the ticket when you show that your solution is fine or it's what we are looking for. For unsatisfactory response, if queries are not completed within the stipulated service delivery standards, and if the 3-tier query escalation process has not yielded satisfactory responses, then customers may lodge a complaint with the CIPC Ombudsman. Lodging a complaint with the Ombudsman, client should ensure that all necessary or supporting documents
Hi, Busi, are you still there? Hi, Busi. Astrid, don't know if you guys can hear me out in Pretoria. There seemed to be a connection failure from your side. If you can just let me know if you guys are still live.
Herman, we have been live and Busi's been presenting, but I think she might have lost her connection. So I wonder, what would you suggest? Shall we just restart the presentation or just carry on where we've left off?
Yeah, I think once she reestablishes her connection, we can just carry on from where she left off. I think she's on the slide that talks about managing your queries.
Right.
At the ticket page, yeah.
Busi, you were on the...
Yep, sure. Hi, Busi. Okay, I think I lost your sound again there. You were still on the...
Hi.
questions
Hello?
around this area.
Can I continue?
On the chat room and the team.
Okay. How to manage your queries. Managing your queries, you sign into the query resolution system at any time to view responses and progress relating to your queries. The customer needs to log into the query resolution system, and then as soon as they are logged in, they need to click on the button ticket on top there next to home, tickets, and FAQs. When they click on tickets, they can filter the first drop-down list, which is you can filter by a status, a category, or a ticket ID, which is a reference number. And then the second drop-down list, it's only have 2 options, which is contains and is. And then the last one is where you write your search criteria. You can use your ticket ID, which is a reference number, like 12123. So from the first drop-down list, you select ID, which is a reference number, and then the second one you can say is, and then the last one you enter your reference number. And then to view the details of your query or the progress of your query, as soon as you filtered or as soon as you search for that reference number, you see your ticket, and then you can click, you can see the title of the ticket, you can see the status, you can see the last update date, you can see the opening date, and the priority, and then your customer coach, which is you, your requester customer, and then the technician who resolved your query. There's further actions you can initiate on your query. As soon as you are satisfied with the solution that was sent from CIPC, you can change the status of your query. You click on the status column, and then you can change it from solved to closed. Hello?
Yes, I'm still here.
Customers have an option to change the status from solved to closed. As soon as they change the status to closed, they won't be able to reopen the ticket. So they need to change it to closed if they are sure that the answer is fine or the solution is fine. In conclusion,
Cool.
CIPC is committed to respond to our clients' queries. Utilizing the query resolution system prevents duplication and streamlines processes and enables trend analysis. The ticket number received must be quoted in all correspondence relating to query resolution. Thank you. Hello?
All right, thank you for that. We see a bit of connection problems there, but hey, it's live webinar and we're using the internet. So yeah, I think we'll get it right with your connection soon. Let me welcome back the Commissioner there. Is there anything that you want to point out or add on from her presentation, Commissioner?
I think perhaps what would be useful if Busi could just clarify the process that we recently underwent where we closed queries. You remember a couple of weeks ago we had a poll and we asked listeners whether or not we could close the queries and give them the option to reopen them. So I think perhaps Busi can just clarify what the status is of all the queries that were open on the query resolution system. Have they been closed by CIPC, by us? And what can, if as a client your query wasn't solved, can you reopen it, or what do you need to do? Lucy, could you just respond to that?
We closed some of the tickets that were under company.
Okay, yeah, just ask her to unmute Freddie's microphone there. I think we lost her while she was busy presenting or responding to the question. So just ask Bully to repeat what she was saying.
It's fine.
Okay.
Hi, Amen. Hello.
I can hear you now.
We had a backlog of the queries from the company section. So as the organization, we decided that we'll close all the tickets from September 16th up to, I think it was the first week of March. And then after that, all the listeners that they didn't receive any feedback for those queries, especially under company section, they have an option to reopen the tickets. When they reopen the tickets, they must send us the ticket reference number, and then we can solve all the tickets from that section. But it's only under companies, and it's few sections, not all the sections under companies that the tickets were closed. But if the ticket is under the status closed, they cannot be able to reopen it. They can only reopen it if it's under soft status. If it's under closed status, they need to lodge another ticket. I don't know if you understood me there.
Yeah, I'm following, yes.
All right, I think that gives a very broad indication of the query resolution system and some of the specific steps. I think it's very important that the user, the end user, who is the client who's lodged the query, interacts with the system. And you know, I appreciate the frustration that I see from some of the queries. I think, you know, we need to, it's a good system, and we're definitely experiencing some difficulties somewhere in some parts of the organization to ensure that it's fully functioning and that people are getting the turnaround, you know, the responses that are required. But we are, as an organization, committed to ensuring that this will work, and we keep monitoring it. So I think we all need to work together to make sure that this is implemented. And again, I understand the impatience sometimes with it, but it's important that people do log the queries and do the escalation if they're not getting the response. That way we can ensure accountability, and we can ensure that the system is fully implemented in the organization. I think in the long run it will add a lot of value to everybody. I think, as Busi has indicated, it removes the duplications. So and we can track it. So there's accountability. That's why we really do encourage people to use the system. That's all I wanted to add to this, Herman. Thanks.
I think there's just a point now from Henry Leroux, I think that's his surname. It says, uploading of documents does not work. When you want to submit a PDF, you receive an error saying the documents should be PDF or TIFF format. So if I understand correctly, the system encourages, is it JPEG or just PDF format files that can be uploaded?
We only accept TIFF and PDF. We do not accept JPEG. So we do accept PDF. Perhaps Tando can respond.
All right.
Tando, you're not signed in, are you? I think if there's a problem with uploading documents, the only possible issue that I can think about is that maybe, there's too many people at the same time trying to upload documents. But I don't know, Busi, is there anything you'd like to add on the query resolution system in terms of uploading documents? You're not aware of any errors?
Yeah, fixing the errors.
I just see a point from Tando responding to that question, I think, on the chat. He says the document upload functionality for e-services transaction should be available on the website soon. It's currently undergoing testing. So I think we can look out for an announcement on this area pretty soon once the testings have been positive.
That's correct.
All right, cool. Just a reminder, we're about to move into another presentation. This one is from Crystal. It's about annual returns, deregistration, business rescue, I think application or notices, and also on liquidation. But before we move into that, let me just remind the listeners about the poll that we've got running. We have a poll that we will close just before we end the show, and it's largely based on getting your feedback or response around what is the best time to run the CIPC Candid Conversation show. It's at morning, late afternoons, or in the evenings. Just click on polls, submit your answer, and we'll share your feedback or your response in just a little bit as well. Luyanda, Genevieve, Kalpana, Michelle, Monique, as well as Nishal, Teresa are some of the guys that are still with us on the show. And like I said earlier on, I'm in Port Elizabeth. The CIPC team is in Pretoria, and Nabila, who's controlling the back end of this webinar, is in Cape Town. So it's all webinar jam to the max this morning. So when you're ready, Nabila, just give me an indication, and then we can proceed with the next interview. Perhaps maybe just before we start with that, if Kristen can come in and just tell us broadly what is the status really in terms of deregistration. I know the commissioner did give us a number earlier on today or during the last few shows, but also in terms of business rescue. Is it an area that you see or you as CIPC receive applications on?
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, this is Krista. Sorry, do you mind speaking
Yes,
to?
Krista, I just wanted to get yeah, you're speaking to Herman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can I start?
Hi, Krista.
Yes, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Okay, great. So,
Can I start with the presentation, Herman? Right. I'm going to start with the presentation. Right. I'm not going to go through the entire presentation. It's quite lengthy, and unfortunately my personality is too detailed for most customers. So I'm going to skip through some of the slides and then just move to certain headings. But there is more detail on the presentation that our clients can actually go through at their own leisure. I'm going to start with providing an overview of the annual return, how annual returns basically works. I'm just going to wait until they reach the slide. There we go. All right. All companies and closed corporations are required by law to file an annual return once a year within a given time, and that's regardless of whether the business was actually conducting business or not. The law doesn't make provision for a dormant entity not to file annual returns. So everybody has to file annually within the period. Now the due period for... Yes. Hello, you're breaking up.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yes.
I'm struggling to hear you. I think your connection is. I'm struggling to hear you. You're breaking up a bit there. Can you maybe just carry on, and hopefully I can hear you properly?
Okay, no, that's fine. All right. Companies has got 30 business days from date of the registration of the entity. For example, if the entity was registered on 25 September, they become due 25 September every single year to file, and they've got 30 business days to file without a penalty. If you file after that period, there is going to be a penalty, and that's based on turnover of the entity. Closed corporations works differently. A closed corporation has got from the first day of the month it was incorporated up until the month thereafter. Using the same example of 25 September, it means a CC will become due on the 1st of September and will have until 31st of October of that year to file without a penalty. Again, if it filed after that period, a penalty of 150 Rand will be levied for the late filing of the return. I'm going to pass on the rollout dates for annual returns. The purpose of annual returns for the CIPC is to confirm whether a company or CC is still doing business or will be doing business in the near future. The assumption is that if we don't get an annual return is that the entity is inactive, and therefore we have to clear it off our register. The reason why we're clearing them out as we do is because we need to ensure that we've got an up-to-date and effective register. And if we've got all these dormant companies and CCs on our register, it gives a very warped impression of how many businesses are actually active within the economy. Annual returns is also a compliance tool. Annual returns is a regular source of updates for the CIPC. And the filing of an annual return is an administrative action and not a legal one. But we have to seriously point out that if you don't file the annual return and we start the deregistration process for that non-compliance, it has serious legal consequences for the company or CC. Please move on to the next slide for the process. So this is basically currently how we deal with annual returns within the CIPC. We try to issue a reminder at the beginning of the month. The companies and CCs will become due. We prepare the list at the beginning of the month and then send it out over a 2-week period usually. So it may mean that sometimes reminders are received maybe 2 or 3 days after the filing has actually occurred. In those cases, just ignore it because we prepare the list in advance and then send the reminders. Now there's a little bit of a condition for the receipt of the reminder. We need to have an active email address in order to send it. So if we don't have an email address or we do not have the correct email address on the entity itself, we cannot issue these reminders to the companies and CCs. Right. So we send out the reminder in the month that the annual return will become due. Then they have got the due period where they have to file. I've already indicated the time periods. So now we wait until the company or CC has got 2 annual returns outstanding. As soon as it hit the two outstanding annual mark, we start placing it into the deregistration process to start taking it off the register. While it's in the deregistration process, they may still file the annual returns. The only thing that the system will do is, once it's received, it will automatically cancel the deregistration status and then move it into a business status. So now the entity is in deregistration. Now time progresses, and eventually we will send out our legal letters that we are required by regulation to send out. The first letter is a registered mail letter called the COR 40.3. And then if we still haven't received a response after the issuing of the registered mail letter, we issue a 40.4. If there's still no filing of the annual returns, we will finally deregister the entities, at which point the legal personality will be removed. And that is actually what happened on the 28th of February this year, is that we have taken a whole bunch of entities, about 250,000 of them, which hasn't filed annual returns, and finally deregistered, remove them off the active register. You may progress to the next slide. Okay. The next slide is basically just some quick tips on how to get your annual returns as quickly as possible in. Ensure that the correct reference number is provided when you are making a deposit. We are not liable if the incorrect reference number has been used on a deposit slip if the penalty is incurred. Clients must ensure that they start the process timeously and then make sure that they do it correct. All of these things are actually stated on all the information on the CIPC website relating to annual returns. The next big thing that we're picking up is that you have to confirm whether billing actually occurred. And if you look at your customer statement and the billing has not occurred for the transaction, it means that the transaction has failed and you are required to resubmit the annual return. So again, you just confirm that via your customer statement, and if not, you just file it again. We also experience sporadic timeout errors, but that's due to our legacy systems that we are using and the high volumes of annual returns that we do receive in a month. If you do get a timeout error, you just try early in the morning, late afternoon, or weekends, when we actually got lower traffic on the website. And you can move to the next slide. This is basically just our little challenges that we experience on annual returns. Our clients can just go through that. And then the next slide, I think it's more important, is how to get your support on when you try to file your annual returns. Okay. If you experience customer profile issues, for example, blocked codes, updating of contact details, error messages, you need to contact resetpassword@cipc.co.za with a certified ID copy of the owner of the customer code. The team that's manning the reset password will then assist in resolving that customer profile issue. We also get timeout errors. Again, I've explained that in the previous slide. Just try to file during other periods or low volume periods. Then we also sometimes get blank certificates. Again, you are advised to confirm that the billing has occurred. If no billing has occurred, please just refile it. And if it does reflect that you have filed, does reflect in your customer statement, log a ticket via the CIPC website. Boosie kindly explained the process, and then with the annual return team will look at it. Please select the category as a company or a CC annual return, and then we'll pick it up from there. Matters relating to deposits not allocated, or transfer of funds between customer codes. Again, our revenue unit deals with those inquiries and has to be sent to them. You send it to them via the query resolution system, and this time you just indicate the category as allocation of deposit. If you do by accident select the incorrect category, we will just reroute it to the right department in order to get the assistance. Then the other one is request for credit and debit notes. That also needs to go to the annual return team, and that also again must be logged on the system. Any other inquiries relating to annual returns can be sent to the mailbox, annualreturns@cipc.co.za, or you can log a ticket for it via the QRS. Next slide. Now we basically move into the deregistration component of non-filing of annual returns. You can go to annual return deregistration overview slide. Okay. Right, that basically just sets out main condition when the CIPC can deregister an entity. And the most important one for annual returns is that there's 2 successive annual returns outstanding. Also note that we refer non-compliant entities every single month into that process. And we usually do that by the month. To the next slide. As stated with the process overview, we send out notices while during the deregistration period, and it's basically to inform the company and CC of the intention to deregister. During the deregistration process, the legal personality is still intact, and therefore any legal proceedings may continue against the entity, or the entity may enforce any rights that they have while in that status. It's only once it's finally deregistered that this entity cannot enforce its rights, and others cannot enforce their rights against them unless it's reinstated. Next slide, annual return deregistration issues on the notification. Please note that this process of notification is an extremely expensive and tedious component of the deregistration process. It's not something that we press a button and then off goes the notices. These things need to be sent by registered mail, and we usually outsource the work for it. Now, what we have experienced on this component is that about 95% of all our registered mail actually gets returned to the CIPC. Now, there's various reasons for that. Most of it can be attributed to the fact that a lot of people think that these are R2 fines and therefore do not wish to pick them up. Or we as CIPC don't have the correct mail address for this entity. Or it goes to the accounting officer, and the accounting officer does not action it. Next slide, and I've already referred to that, it's about the cancellation. Once you are in the annual return deregistration process, the only way to cancel it or to stop the pending deregistration is by the actual filing of the annual returns. The system will not allow an annual return filing if the entity was referred for any other reason into the deregistration process. For example, the entity itself applied for its deregistration, the system will not allow them to file, and they have to submit a manual written objection to the deregistrations unit on the indicated email address to stop it. The next slide basically just sets out the legal consequences for deregistration, so clients can just read through that. Now, after we have finally deregistered, the only way to resurrect this entity is by reinstating it. Now, we have to note that we've got very strict principles and guidelines in the process of reinstatements. We don't reinstate entities that does not have economic value. We will reinstate if they can prove that it has got, it was in business at the time of deregistration. There's proof that this entity owns immovable property, or there may be something else like mineral rights or those type of things. So the standard rule is in order to prove these by providing supporting documents to prove that it was either in business at the time of deregistration, and that takes the form of bank statements, and then also proof that it's got immovable property. That will be the multiple deed search that will reflect with this immovable property. Just to go through the requirements for reinstatement, we just have to note that as from the 2nd of March, we have done away with one of the requirements, and that was based on a request from National Treasury. So you have to provide the certified ID copy of the applicant. That will be the director or the member if that person is deceased. Additional to that, we will need the death certificate as well as the appointment of the executor. Then we also need the certified ID copy of the customer who's filing. We require a multiple deed search reflecting that there's immovable property or not. Please note that it's a multiple deed search, meaning that we need to get results for all 10 of the deeds office regional offices. Then we also need the copy of the advertisement in the local newspaper indicating that the entity intends to reinstate. We still need the letter from Public Works if the multiple deed search reflects immovable property. We no longer need the letter from National Treasury. And then, of course, we need sufficient documentary proof in the form of bank statements or other third-party documents confirming activity or economic value. Most of the times when the sufficient documentary proof takes the form of anything else other than bank statements or a trust deed, we can't in advance indicate whether we will process or not. The entire application is evaluated once it's submitted, and then we review the entire application. So those are the general requirements. We also have to note on the next slide for creditors is that creditors cannot actually use the normal reinstatement process. The reason for it is that there is, well, what we term a laguna in law, is that the Companies Regulation 40 requires the filing of annual returns to complete the reinstatement process. And unfortunately, the Companies Act and the CC's Act only makes provision for the entity itself to file the annual returns. So therefore, creditors can't complete the process. Creditors are therefore then advised in those instances to actually approach a high court for a court order reinstating the entity. And just again on the administrative support for reinstatements, as indicated by the Commissioner, all applications must be submitted in a single email, and all attachments must be in PDF or TIFF. Unfortunately, our systems cannot read any other attachment format. That includes attaching another email to the email. If there are inquiries regarding this matter, if queried, the entire application must be resubmitted to reinstatements at CIPC, and any inquiries relating to a reinstatement must be logged via the inquiry system on the website. Then there's just two other bullets, but that's just for general information. And that's the end of the presentations for annual return deregistrations, annual returns, and reinstatements. Are there any questions?
Awesome. Thank you very much, Krista. I have one. I don't think it has been answered by the team. Can you hear me there?
Yes, I can.
All right. It's from Genevieve Spiller. It says, why does CIPC charge so much for these annual returns?
Okay. All our fees are actually prescribed by law. So if you look at the regulations, we are forced to implement the structures that is required. So basically, just to run through the fee structure, which was not part of the presentation, if it's a company, we've got different thresholds. So if the turnover is less than 1 million, it's 100 Rand, and then if it's a late filing, a 50 Rand goes with it. Between 1 million and 10 million, it is 450 and then 150 Rand late filing fee. Then for 10 million to 25 million, it's 2,500 if I remember correctly, and then a 500 Rand penalty. And then for 25 million and over, it is a 3,000 Rand fee, as well as a penalty of 1,000 Rand. The reason for this threshold is that we cannot, well, ask the same fee for a big company than a small company, and that's why we use basically the turnovers of the entities to determine the fee that they are required to file for.
All right. And then another question from Renee. It says, for the sake of non-compliant clients, could you provide a detailed document stating the serious implications of non-compliance of annual returns?
There is actually a document on the website. It's called the Information Guide on Annual Returns. It is available. I'll quickly indicate where it is on the website. You go to our main website, www.cipc.co.za. You go to useful tools, how to, and there will be a list of step-by-step guides and the information guide on annual returns. We've also, when we mark annual return, please continue.
Yeah, no, sure, carry on.
Well, when we do issue notifications and do advertisements for annual returns, we always state the seriousness or the consequences of deregistration.
Okay, I think just a note on your presentation from Michelle says, where can we access the presentation slides? Are they available, or is it what's available on the website?
Well, basically this is just a compilation of the different information on the website. I think we are making arrangements for the publication of this presentations. That's our Commissioner. So these presentations, that even the QRS one will be published on the website in due course.
Okay, and then Bronwyn asks, where can we find a list of all the correct email addresses for all the different submission they looked on the website and they cannot find it? Is there like in the contact us page or per department?
It actually stands in the service delivery standards document as to which is the correct filing emails. I think I can't remember on which tab it is on our website. I think it's our service delivery turnaround times that will indicate about us. And then there will be our service delivery standards or turnaround times, and then there's different documents depending on the department within the CIPC, and it's usually indicated there. I think it's the second or third column on the document. So if the email address is changed, that document will be updated.
All right, great. Also, I'm trying to scan through these, but I see the team at CIPC is currently responding to the chat room as well, to some of the questions. I think from my side, I don't have any other point that you wanted to add on the Krista or the Commissioner.
Not anything from my side, but I'm going to hand over to the Commissioner and then maybe to the rest of the team.
Thank you, Krista. Herman, I'm back.
The annual returns or the presentation that Krista just made?
I'm sorry, Herman, I just caught the last part of your sentence. I didn't hear the first part.
No, I was asking if you have a comment or two on the presentations, or can we move on to another section of the show?
No, I think we should move on. I think Krista did a very comprehensive presentation.
All right. We've got 8 minutes to go, and this is the second show that we're doing in the morning, and we wanted to get your feedback. We've just published the poll there, Commissioner, and 70% of the people that were attending or that contributed to the poll, they would like to see the show in the morning, and in the evening came in at 19% and late afternoon at 11%. So I think the feedback from the guys is that morning works best for them.
Okay, that's good feedback. Thank you.
And then in the interest of those that maybe had to rush off or had a meeting in the morning, we always publish the replay links on our YouTube page, and also on SoundCloud now you can download the audio. So we'll publish the link to our website and a YouTube channel as well, so that people can listen to it, and the SoundCloud link as well, so that they can download the poll as well. So I think for the sake of moving on, we've got about 7 minutes left on the show. I'm just trying to look at the questions that are on the chat area. Razia says, can we please discuss voluntary deregistration of a company in a future webinar?
I'm sorry, Herman. I was following the chat on the side, which is the worst thing. It's very distracting. So could you just repeat your question again? My sincere apologies.
Not a problem. Razia asked if we can please discuss voluntary deregistration of a company in the next few webinars that are coming up.
I think that's fine. If there are any particular questions, I'm sure Krista can answer now, and perhaps I should just hand back to her. There may be a slight delay, if you'll just bear with us. And perhaps Krista could just take us very briefly through the process of voluntary deregistration.
All right. Voluntary deregistration is basically whereby the entity itself will apply for its own deregistration because they're not using it anymore. So basically what the law requires is that the entity must be basically dormant, no economical activities, and is basically, it must not be worth the while to actually liquidate because the liability is actually, I don't know, I can't remember precisely, but basically there's no real assets in order to liquidate the entity. Now if that happens, the client needs to actually submit a voluntary deregistration request to the CIPC, and they do that by email, writing a letter to the CIPC. There's no form for it currently within the Act or the regulations. So they write us a letter to state that, listen, this entity is not doing business, its assets basically it's not worth the effort to liquidate, and it must be signed by all the directors and, or if it's a closed corporation, the members. So we check if everybody has signed. If not, we're going to reject it. Now, with that request, we need a tax clearance certificate from SARS. The reason why we need the tax clearance certificate is that SARS has identified to us there's a lot of companies and CCs that place themselves into voluntary deregistration while owing SARS outstanding tax. And that's why we require this tax clearance certificate to make double sure they don't own SARS anything before we start the process. So once you've submitted to deregistrations at cipc.co.za, our team will basically capture the application. Our turnaround time for that component is 10 working days from date of tracking. But then we have an additional step that has to be followed by the CIPC. Like the annual return deregistrations, we also need to send out notifications on the voluntary deregistration process. Now, once we've placed it into the process, we will actually then start doing the letter notification, and if there's no objection to the deregistration, we will finally deregister. Now, usually it takes between 3 to 4 months to complete the notification period to a voluntary deregistration, because we need to prepare the list, we need to post it out, we have to wait 20 business days to see what response are forthcoming, and only then can we finally deregister. Again, like everything else, like the reinstatements, if there are questions on the deregistration process, tickets must be logged on our website.
All right. Okay. There's another point that was raised by, is it Donelle Fisser? She says, we did that, Krista, but CIPC says we must catch up with the annual returns first. So I don't know which area she was responding to.
Well, if it's an annual, if the entity was placed into deregistration due to annual return non-compliance, then they should file all the outstanding annual returns. The deregistration team don't force the filing of annual returns when the entity wants to deregister, unless it's basically, maybe we should just point out that a deregistration is a deregistration, regardless of what triggered it. So if the entity is an annual return deregistration, we cannot process a normal deregistration, because it's already in the deregistration process. So what she can do is she can log a ticket. For today, I haven't done the deregistration. I'm probably going to hit them this afternoon. So if she logs a ticket this afternoon, she's probably going to get the response today.
Okay,
with the detail.
Sorry, you mentioned something about people do voluntary deregistration while they're owing money to SARS.
That's correct.
I might have missed your follow-on to that point. What then happens? Do you then CIPC work hand in hand with SARS to not deregister until the payments have been made? I don't know if you said that.
Basically, if that's why on the voluntary deregistration process, we need to get the tax clearance certificate. So if the client cannot provide it or cannot provide an affidavit to state that the entity was never registered for tax, we will not start the voluntary deregistration process. Now, this is slightly different for the annual return deregistration, because we do work hand in hand with SARS and we do work hand in hand with the banks. So if the banks or SARS request us not to deregister for AR non-compliance, we will freeze the entity in that process in order for them to resolve the issues with the banks and SARS.
Awesome. Thank you very much there, Krista. We've about a minute left for the show, so thank you very much to you. I will hand over to the Commissioner to do a round of today's show. As I said earlier on, this show podcast will be promoted on our Facebook page and our website as well, so listeners can just go to those websites once we've published the podcast for people to listen to it again. So thank you very much there. Commissioner, I'm going to hand over to you to wrap up. We did the poll. I'm going to hand over to you, Commissioner. We did the poll. You got the sense of what people suggest the time slot be. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm sure we'll make the announcement later in the week as to when will the next show be, 10 o'clock or 7 p.m. But I'm going to hand over to you to wrap up the show tonight.
Thanks very much, Herman. Yes, it's gone. Are we done? William, Herman, or am I still live? Okay.
Yeah, we're still live.
I think we will make an announcement during the course of the week about what time. I mean, we always take the feedback, so there seems to be overwhelming support for the mornings. And I think we'll need to just find a way in which we can accommodate all people. I just want to thank everybody for bearing with us. You know, every week we try something new, and we tried something new this week. Perhaps 2 presentations in one day is too much. So, but I hope everybody has had some benefit from the 2 presentations that were made. And thank you to you, Nabila, again for a wonderful show.
Thank you very much for your time, Commissioner, and big thanks to my teammate, my colleague down in Cape Town, Nabila, for manning the slides. So thank you very much, Commissioner, and the team at CIPC. We'll catch up with you guys next week too. The listeners, go out there, make it happen. Good luck.